Welcome to episode 10 of FTCE Seminar, the Florida Teacher Certification Exam podcast, where we talk about testing tips, study hacks, and how to prep to pass the FTCE. I'm your host, Mercedes Musto. In today's episode, I'll be talking about the FTCE General Knowledge English Language Skills subtest. This is part 3 of a multi-series review of what you need to know to pass the English section of the GK. Let's get started. In this episode, we will review commas, when to use them, and how to use them properly. Concept number 3, commas. One of my favorite online writing labs is Purdue OWL, and they explain 11 ways to use commas. Ooh, 11? That's a lot. So let's unpack 3 comma concepts that you need to know. Commas are mostly used to indicate a brief pause so that our sentences have some poetic finesse. Okay. I just wanted to be fancy there, but for real, commas help us to create sentences that flow, like this one. Number 1, I walked, washed, and fed the dog today. Sounds smooth, right? That's because we use commas to separate words in a series or in a list. Now, listen again and visualize where to place the comma. I walked, comma, washed, comma, and fed the dog today. Perfecto. I emphasize the comma and because although using conjunction is optional, depending on what you're trying to clarify, of course, it's another common and correct way to use a comma, like in the next example. Number 2, use a comma when you're linking 2 independent clauses with a coordinating conjunction. On a side note, an independent clause basically means that the group of words has a subject and a verb. It's its own sentence. It's independent. And an example of a coordinating conjunction, well, that's a word like and, or but, or for, or nor. It's that whole fanboys thing. You get the point. Like in this sentence, listen for the pause. She enjoyed podcasting, but she's mostly remembered for her retelling of dad jokes. That wasn't as smooth as I thought. Let's try it again. It's funny because it's true. Okay. She enjoyed podcasting, comma, but she is mostly remembered for her retelling of dad jokes. Haha, yeah. Okay, did you hear the pause? That's where the comma goes, and it's before the conjunction. Okay, listen again. She enjoyed podcasting, comma, but she is mostly remembered for her retelling of dad jokes. Now, that could also be comma and or comma yet. Basically, the formula is independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction, followed by another independent clause, period. Boom. You got it. Number 3, we also need commas to separate out non-essential words. That sounds so rude, right? Like, these words don't really matter. But I like to call these side thoughts or extra information moments that we totally want to include in our sentences, like this. This podcast is, I think, and I'm sure you agree, a great way to study while you're multitasking. Did you hear my extra information moment? The little side thought? It was, I think, and I'm sure you agree. Well, that wasn't necessary to the sentence, but I wanted to add it, so I placed a group of words within 2 commas like this. This podcast is, comma, I think, and I'm sure you agree, comma, a great way to study while you're multitasking. Let's review. Commas show us where to pause in a sentence and really help us clarify what we're trying to communicate. We can use commas to separate words in a series or in a list. We can use commas to link 2 independent clauses with a coordinating conjunction. And finally, we can use commas to add non-essential information to a sentence like I do all the time. See what I did there? Now, Purdue OWL has 8 additional and fancy ways to use commas to give your sentences some finesse. We simply covered 3, and that's a start. For more practice with commas or study hacks, visit ftceseminar.com. The important thing is to start studying today so you can pass the Florida Teacher Certification Exam. Well, what are you waiting for? Go on now, start studying. This is your host, Mercedes Musto. Join me again on FTCE Seminar, a Florida Teacher Certification Exam podcast, so you can prep to pass the FTCE. I'd like to thank Kate, Samantha, and the Pickens Multimedia Studio at the University of West Florida for making this podcast possible. For more materials, visit ftceseminar.com and hey, check us out on YouTube at FTCE Seminar.